I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is Bob Dylan.
Mm-hmm. The Lonesome Death of Hattie Carroll. Sounds horrible.
Bob Dylan. He's not the guy that did the Hurt song. No, that's the other guy. Who's the guy in the...
I don't know. I'll let you look that up. Armando is the one that...
Johnny Cash. Okay.
Oh, Johnny Cash. Okay.
That's the only one I know.
So Armando's the one that requested the song, and he said because of the headlines the last couple of days, he's thought about the song nonstop, and so he wanted us and everyone to listen to it. So the way to get your song reacted to is if you jump on PayPal, or Patreon, or you can go on PayPal for $125 a month. After you do 3 reactions with us, you don't have to do it every single month, but if you do it 3 times with us, then the price jumps down to $75 for you. So if you've already done it with us 3 times, then you automatically just have to pay the $75. So you can either go through PayPal or Patreon to do that, and links are in the description. There's also other options if you're like, why would anybody spend that kind of money? There are alliances on Patreon, so you can do $1 a month up
That's my favorite option, the alliances.
Yeah, there's all different amounts that you can do. Basically, if you like what we do on the channel and you're like, you know what, I could throw $1 at that, then throw $1 at it, and then you can jump into an alliance and you can help influence the songs that we are going to listen to. And you also get to meet other great people in the alliances that like the same kind of stuff that you do, and you guys get to chat and argue if that's what you like. Whatever. Different people. What do they say? Different
folks, different strokes.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. So anyway.
For timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori. This does not look like it's a very positive, upbeat song, so it'll fit my mood. Shout out to, who was it? The big homie. Who was the big homie?
Which one?
We've got so many email addresses now, but...
Shout out to Joe Biden.
The Waite family. Shout out to the Waite family. He was excited that we're not rapture people.
Oh.
He was very happy about that. And then there was another guy that I wanted to shout out.
So many names.
Ian. Yeah, Ian H reached out to us because he had the magic number from the falling snow video. We're gonna do that more, probably once a month. We're gonna do a free shirt giveaway. Maybe if something is really, really crazy and somebody put something really complex together, they'll win a review. Mm-hmm. Remember that time that Slipknot giveaway we did? Mm-hmm. Like
Leo watched it like 8 times, the entire thing,
to figure it out. Yeah,
she did.
Yeah, so it's gonna have to be like that level of Easter eggs. So we're gonna hide some Easter eggs. Maybe this video, who knows? Maybe other videos, who knows? And for a really, really complex one, we'll probably give it away a song review, which is currently worth $125. So that's or a shirt or a mug or whatever. So
this video is like, it looks like it's the official. It's like a black and white. It looks like it's their official. It may get blocked, and if it does, I'm going to have to just put in a lyric video or something. But you can follow the link in the description, and if you start it when we start it, listen for my click, because I hit that button hard. Start it at the same time, and you'll get to see what we're seeing. And you know, that's why we do Patreon, because we don't cut up other videos like other reaction channels do. No disrespect to them. We play the thing straight through, and when you play the song straight through, it either gets demonetized, which is okay. All our videos are demonetized, or the thing gets completely blocked and you can't watch it at all. That pisses us off because we're trying to make the video for you guys. So if you don't see the official video, that's why. Bob Dylan, let's go. Okay.
Poor Hattie Carroll, with a cane that he twirled around his diamond ring finger at a Baltimore hotel society gathering, and the cops were called in and his weapon took from him as they rode him in custody down to the station and booked Williams and Singer for first-degree murder. And you who philosophize disgrace and criticize our fears, take the rag away from your face. Now ain't the time for your tears. Williams and Singer, who at 24 years owns a tobacco farm of 600 acres, with rich, wealthy parents who provide and protect him, and high office relations in the government of Maryland, reacted to his deed with a shrug of his shoulders and swear words and sneering. In his tongue it was snarling, and in a matter of minutes on bail was out walking. And you who philosophize disgrace and criticize our fears, take the rag away from your face. Now ain't the time for your tears. Hattie Carroll was a maid of the kitchen. She was 51 years old and gave birth to 10 children, who carried the dishes and took out the garbage and never sat once at the head of the table, who didn't even speak to the people at the table, who just cleaned up all the food from the table and emptied the ashtrays on a whole other level, got killed by a blow, lay slain by a cane that sailed through the air and came down to the room, doomed and determined to destroy all the gentle, and she never spoke once to Williams and Singer. And you who philosophize disgrace and criticize our fears, take the rag away from your face. Now ain't the time for your tears. In the courtroom of honor, the judge pounded his gavel to show that all's equal and that the courts are on the level, and that the strings in the books ain't pulled and persuaded, and that even the nobles get properly handled. And once that the cops have chased after and caught 'em, and that the ladder of law has no top and no bottom, stared at the person who killed for no reason, who just happened to be feeling that way without warning. And he spoke through his cloak, most deep and distinguished, and he handed out strongly both penalty and repentance, Williams and Singer with a 6-month sentence.
Of
And
course.
you who philosophize disgrace and criticize our fears, bury the rag most deep in your face. Now's the time for your tears.
Wow, that's awful.
Pretty-
It's a true story.
Pretty brave, yeah. Yeah, the tragic true story behind Bob Dylan's The Lonesome Death of Hattie Carroll. After a black barmaid named Hattie Carroll was killed by a drunken white man, Bob Dylan turned her story into a protest song. Matron, that'll be the screen cap. Matron felled by cane in old plantation setting.
That's so wrong.
There's Miss Hattie Carroll. 6 months in jail, huh?
That's better than it is now.
Seduct.
Now, if that video hadn't have popped up about that guy running.
Yeah, it's always hilarious to me. Like, so I after the I said in another video, the Philando Castile video. That was I said that's the last time I'm gonna watch a unarmed black male get killed on video. Mm-hmm. And I always say, for black folks, we know what's going on. We know the names. Since Amadou Diallo in New York City, NYPD. They shot at him 41 times, hit him 19 times. He had nothing on him. No indictment. No indictment. Same thing with
I know it happens, but every
Sean
time
Bell.
you say it, it's hard to believe.
Yeah, so Garner. Look, man. The Garner thing. Those guys didn't get indicted. We had to have a giant protest for those guys to even get indicted, and then Bloomberg or one of those people in the last debate, they finally moved on it in like 2019, 2020 because he was trying to get himself into the Democratic primaries. George Zimmerman.
Wow.
George Zimmerman, who has a violent past with the police. I mean, the guy literally assaulted a police officer, and then after he got off, his ex-wife said that he threatened her with a gun. And he got off without an indictment. They processed him at the police station and then sent him home. The only reason there was even a Zimmerman trial was because there was a protest to even get these people to trial. Now, the thing is, black people don't protest every time one of us dies at the hands of white people. Was it James Byrd? I think it was. James Byrd was the one that they dragged to death. I think, yeah. So he was dragged to death, and those guys got prosecuted, and there was no giant protest or civil unrest or anything like that because justice was done. Mm-hmm. Garner, though, there was a protest because the guy got killed on camera and justice was not done. Then there was the Walter Scott case where the cop, the guy was running and the cop centered himself and shot the guy and then tried to plant the weapon on him, but there was a video, so there's just so many of these things that to me it's like, as a black person, like, why are you watching? Why would you watch that? All it's gonna do is get you to the point where you wanna, it's kind of like a fight or flight thing where you're either gonna, stay in your house and be scared to death of white people, or, you're gonna feel a certain way and, get tempted to do certain things. And so I just don't think it's healthy for black people to look at that stuff. If you're one of those white folks that think that, people are blowing stuff out of proportion and stuff like that, by all means, go watch it. But here's the thing that happens is that if you get killed, you have to have a completely perfect, flawless record. Because anything that you did bad in the past will then be used to justify. I remember, Trayvon Martin, he smoked weed. He got suspended from school for smoking weed. And this was this big thing, this giant conversation I had to have with white people in the area. And it's like, wow, why didn't Eric Garner listen to the cops? He was selling Lucy cigarettes. He wasn't this innocent guy. And Philando Castile, he was high. I had a conversation. Christian guy. I had a conversation with the guy for half an hour. He didn't get it. I just said, all right. I said, forget it. Like, you got to have so now the guy is, and I was surprised, Ben Shapiro talked about it. So there was a video of Ahmaud Arbery at a construction site.
A what?
A construction site.
Ahmaud Arbery?
Ahmaud Arbery is a guy that recently got killed, where the white dudes hunted him down. And he's at a construction site, and people are going, see, this changes things. It doesn't change shit.
Wait. The jogger? That was his name?
Yeah, Ahmaud Arbery, yeah.
Oh, and then... Yeah. What does that change anything?
well, because what the white folks are saying is that, hey, there was like a home invasion, a string of home invasions or whatever, and these guys were trying to do a citizen's arrest, and so he wasn't following simple commands, yada, yada, yada. And so now there's a video of him at a construction site. And as Ben Shapiro said, which Ben Shapiro shockingly said, what the hell does that have to do with the dudes hunting him down and killing him? Which is great. So this is him. He's at a construction site. He's looking around. And that video is now being they're now trying to, like, somebody was on Facebook like, see, this is why I don't talk about things until I see all the information. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Nothing. Has nothing to do with anything, because if the roles were reversed and there was a white dude walking around in a construction site, and then two black dudes chased him down, cornered him, and killed him.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. I just wish he wouldn't have put himself in that situation.
Well, but again,
that's
like,
someone else's property. You shouldn't have gone in there.
I get it, but these are the ridiculous standards. Yeah. You have to be a completely perfect person in order not to warrant the death penalty in the minds of these people. Because
it really doesn't matter. Like, somebody else was saying,
well, I told you about the story with Chris Green when we were kids. We went to that guy's property, and Chris got caught, and the cops did one of these things to him and then sent him back home. Nobody blew him away. And the other thing is, they didn't kill that dude on that property. It's not like they were walking and they were like, he was a foreman in a construction site and said, hey, wait a second. That's not what happened.
No, I know.
He was running. They fucking cornered this guy and killed him. Like, he was trying to get away from them. They cornered him and killed him. He had no weapon on him, anything. They killed this guy for basically the what you can, at minimum, you could say it's trespassing. And it's like, do white people get hunted down by black people and killed for trespassing? Does that happen? No. But any little thing that you do, unless you're a completely perfect citizen, it doesn't fucking matter. Any little, he smoked weed in high school. Trayvon smoked weed in high school. Forget about the fact that the guy who killed him actually had an assault of a police officer on his record. And forget about the fact that after his wife said that he pulled a gun. Forget about all that.
I think that
Trayvon smoked some weed in high school. So I think that means he should die.
People are always trying to make, they're always trying to make those excuses for why it was okay to do what they did, instead of looking at it as like, okay, so like, one guy selling Lucy cigarettes, and I've heard people say, well, he shouldn't have been doing that. Yes, we get that. He shouldn't have been breaking the law, but you can't kill somebody for not abiding by the law. And it's, in my opinion, selling Lucy cigarettes is such a minor thing.
Look, man, I'm doing all this research on the mafia and the mob and all that shit. And these motherfuckers were going out and blowing people away in broad daylight, doing all this racketeering stuff. You know what happened? You know what the United States government did? I'll tell you what they didn't do. They didn't go and get the SWAT team and start putting holes in these people who were mafia. They didn't do that. You know what they did? They activated the RICO statute and they arrested those people and then put them on trial. And even though they knew that John Gotti was going to get off X amount of time, they didn't go and summarily execute these people. So I don't want to hear it.
No, it's obvious that there's more than just.
Yeah, I watched half of the Shapiro video. Somebody posted on Middle America where Ben Shapiro basically said, this is horrible, there's no way to justify this. And he says, I'm not really sure that race had a part to play in it.
Of course it did.
It's just so weird to me.
Of course it did.
So I wonder if Mr. Shapiro would say the same thing about, like, if the guy was, the guy ended up having a swastika or something and killed a bunch of Jewish people. He would immediately say it's anti-Semitism. When those black guys shut up that Jewish place in Brooklyn, he immediately called it anti-Semitism. But I'm not really sure if it's racial or not. Okay, all right. It's infuriating, man. This guy, he got 6 months for killing this girl. Zimmerman got nothing. Zimmerman actually got a nice little GoFundMe check, and he went on his way. And, argument could be made that the DA went for first-degree murder, which, would have been a very, very tough case to make.
You cannot treat people like that.
Second-degree murder,
extended period of time without galvanizing them.
Well, I say it over and over. You know, Alec talked about
That's
it.
somebody's baby.
Alec-
That's somebody's kid.
Well, Alec-
That's somebody's uncle. That's somebody's son.
Alec talked about it. You know, he
Probably
said,
someone's dad.
he said, look, man, Alec is white, but he's probably one of my best friends since we started the channel. He said, look, man, we're not going to respect you guys until you do something about it. And he's right. He's right. So you had the Black Panthers marching down the street. They're all geared up and shit. They're all tactical, just like the people in, Michigan, where they're all in their tactical gear and shit. Like, man, you watch what happens if these guys get off. And again, the DA stopped the prosecution. This shit happened months ago. The DA stopped the not enough evidence. Okay. These white dudes
on camera. Not enough evidence.
Not enough evidence. It's like the meme says. It's like, you know, these guys aren't indicted because the DA saw the video. They got indicted because we saw the video.
Yeah. Right.
Like, this is what has to happen. Like, you gotta have a camera out when you're walking or whatever. Botham Jean gets the cop breaks into his house and kills him in his house. Little white lady shot him. It's like, man, this shit doesn't happen to white people, bro. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. 12% of the population. Like, this is. It's mind-boggling to me. But here's the thing. Like, I'm in a situation where I am me and Peter were having this discussion all last week, where I'm a pacifist by conviction.
Mm-hmm.
So, my disposition is more Malcolm than Martin. I don't really have much use for Martin, to be honest with you. If like somebody really pinned me down, but as a Christian, I got to be like, well, but like the thing that's more infuriating to me than the video. Because this is the thing, it's not the video. Like, I know they're racist, evil motherfuckers that are going out and do shit like that. The thing that gets me is the comments afterwards, and the justifications, and what was he doing it? Like, I know it's gonna come, and that's why I don't make any posts about it. Because I want to stay friends with people. And it's very, very hard to stay friends with people in this situation. There's one particular guy, and, fuck you, I don't care, get out of here. Like, I don't care. So, like, there's one little confrontation I had a guy in Middle America, and I could care less. But he's like, fine, I'm leaving then. Like, this fragility that white people have, that you're a little I'm a little terse about the situation, and I'm supposed to just, it's so infuriating. It's so infuriating because, like, coming up, I heard Farrakhan, and this is the reason why I am never, ever, ever, ever going to decry Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan, ever. He says shit that sometimes I don't agree with, but he's never incited anybody to kill anybody, but he has talked about the fact that we got some very devilish elements in this country, and for whatever reason, the quote-unquote Christian leaders in the black community don't have the cojones to say what needs to be said, because you're on MSNBC, which is owned by white folks there, Mr. Man. So, like, miss me with it. I don't care. Like, you're lucky that all you have to deal with is Farrakhan. Because Farrakhan, this is the other thing that white people don't understand about Farrakhan, is that Farrakhan has actually restrained a lot of violent actions from black people. Because they had this thing, Justice or Else, like 3 or 4 years ago, and Farrakhan was, it's in the track, where he says, what are you trying to force us to do? Yeah. It's in that song that I wrote, which I don't know if I'll ever release, but who knows. Hit me an email if you want to hear the song. But,
Vin and Sori @gmail.com.
Yeah,
links in the description.
I don't know if I'm gonna release it or not, but hit me an email if you want to. But look, if you're white and you're fragile and you get your feelings hurt when black people are mad at you. Yeah, I sent it to Alec. Yeah. But Farrakhan, basically, the first half of the speech, it's called Justice or Else. The first half of the speech he was talking about, look, man, like, dudes are ready to kill, dudes are ready to die over this shit. And then in the second half, he was basically talking to the black community, saying, I can't do that until we got to get our stuff together. And so, it was genius, because it calmed me down. I was like, he's right. Like, it's crazy to me as a Christian that there's no voice for me to listen to when this shit happens. Because it happens a lot. That's why I said, I'm saving this song until the next time it happens. Because it's gonna happen again. And, so that's what people don't understand. It's kind of like, people blaming Marilyn Manson for people shooting up schools. I'm like, no, like Manson probably saved a bunch of kids from getting shot up because he gave a bunch of people an outlet. But yeah, so that Justice or Else tour that Farrakhan did, like, look, he's not going to say nice things about white people in a situation like this, but he's an elder statesman and dudes will listen to him. And sometimes when you sit and think about this shit, like, you get pushed to a point beyond sanity and self-preservation, because now you're looking at it like, you know what? This is a thing that kills me about folks. Like, they don't understand the concept. What is stopping a person from saying, the next time I get in an altercation with a white person, I'm just going to shoot him? Because if they shoot me, nothing is going to happen to them. I can shoot them and take my chances at court. This is a stupid. I'm not talking about a race war. I'm talking about if you have the mentality that the police who are there to serve and protect you are not going to serve and protect you, and that the judicial system, the judicial apparatus that we have, that functions as a third-party, dispassionate observer and enforcer of our laws in order to create a society that actually functions instead of having the purge. If you convince a group of people that they can be killed on site, on camera, and that those apparatus will not work for them, what the fuck do you think is going to happen? So you had after, I think it was after Eric Garner, that thing in Houston where that dude went out and just, I based a song on that guy, on his mentality. The guy in Houston, he took out like 3 or 4 cops, and it's obvious that a guy that does that is not going to come out alive, right? We know that. Meanwhile, the guy shoots up an abortion clinic, kills a doctor, God forgive him, kills a police officer, he ends up alive. A white dude, obviously, but the black guy that was going around, like, he knew he was on a suicide mission because there's no way in the world they're gonna let him live, right? How much you don't think stuff like that's going to continue to happen? When the apparatus that is supposed to be used to make sure that you communicate to everybody that nobody's above the law, you don't think you're going to create those types of situations and those mentalities? Look, man, it's only a matter of time, and there's only so many things that people can do before people really end up snapping and losing their minds over this stuff.
Awful.
I got a son that's taller than me now, and the most sensitive, beautiful person on the face of the earth, in my opinion. And the idea that he could be gunned down like that, and then people try to justify him being gunned down because, for whatever reason, they'll find something that he did, years ago or whatever. Like, it's just madness to me. And one of these days, man, you watch what happens with these people. You watch. If they don't get sentenced, and if they don't get sentenced properly.
If somebody shot your kid, would that be a good enough answer while he walked into some construction sites?
I talked about this, this is the other thing that gets me about white people. When I say white people, I'm talking about in general. I'm speaking in generalizations here. I'm not speaking of, every white person on the planet. Like I said, Alec is white. He's a close friend of mine, and what he said was right. We're not being taken seriously. So I know that not every white person is racist. However, look, man, when I hear all the justifications, and then somebody said, "Why does this have to be about black and white? I don't see any color." It's like it must be very, very nice. Like, people want to take the racial element out of it, because it's incontrovertible evidence that this dude was hunted down and murdered, and there's no way to defend it. Now you got people saying, "Oh, come on, why do we have to talk about race?" We have to talk about race because race exists. Like, it exists. It's real. Look at the death penalty. Look at the people.
I didn't get a clear look at that dude's face, but I did see the color of his skin.
Correct. Look at the people who get executed in America, or in places where you have the death penalty. This is not a mystery. So it's easy for you to say that you don't see race, But you're not in a situation where your son could get gunned down for going to Walmart.
Just stop.
Yeah. So it's easy for people that don't have those conversations with their sons and never have those conversations with those sons and never have to have those thoughts when they're, we're at the park yesterday and the kids went off ahead of us and, and maybe we're seeing it for different reasons. You're like, oh, I'm not good with the kids out of our line of sight. And I was like, well, you gotta let them live. And I was talking more to myself. I want my boy, especially my boys. I want my boys, within sight distance of me. And I know that can't happen. They have to live.
I know.
But they're in fucking Maine. Okay? And we're a constitutional carry state over here. And, look, man, Dorian's... You guys have heard my stance on guns and killing and all that, and I'm completely totally against it. But Dorian doesn't have that mentality at all. When he gets his place, he's getting a gun and yada yada yada. I am always going to tell him that's not right from a biblical perspective. But I gotta tell you, if he's walking around a gun, he's got a fighting chance of coming out alive. If I have to see him in a prison cell for the rest of his life, I'd much rather that than visit his grave every year. Like this is the level, like, I purposely shut off certain parts of my emotions in dealing with this bullshit because it's the most infuriating thing of all time. And there are things that you can do, but you cannot do them as a Christian. You just can't. Mm-hmm. It's crazy stuff. This has, where Christianity has a lot of utility, especially with the original sin stuff. I talk about it all the time. It's one of the best applications of the original sin doctrine. Because if I did not have that, you would really start to think that there's something like wrong, like especially wrong with white people. Mm-hmm. And not understanding, no, man, this is human nature. But man, whew, it's some infuriating stuff. And look, I think one of the things that gets me is like the fragility aspect of white people when this stuff comes up, and then they start saying, like, I know for a fact, I'm not even gonna look at any of the comments in this video, but I know for a fact there's gonna be, oh, you're generalizing and blah blah blah, and like there's like no attempt to put yourself in the shoes of the other person. It's just you're offended because you feel that you're being lumped in with blah 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 blah, and there's no understanding of, well, man, I would love to fucking walk around being offended instead of walking around fearing for the life of my son literally every fucking time he walks out the door. I'd love to be in your fucking position. Like, and that's the thing, like last week, anybody who brought up this topic, like, I had absolutely no pity for them whatsoever. I could care less. Mm-hmm. I don't care how you feel. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not in my situation. I don't give a fuck how you feel, and I don't care about how you feel about being generalized. And then they say dumb shit like, well, you're doing the same thing that those guys are doing because you're generalizing and he generalized us. No, it's not the fucking same. I'll tell you why it's not the same. If I kill you, if I was on camera hunting you down and putting 5 in you and I killed you on camera 2 months ago, this shit wouldn't have made Facebook. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't have made national news. You know why? Because I wouldn't have made it to the fucking police station. They would have killed me. Do me a favor and get me the fucking article where it shows a white guy getting gunned down by 2 black folk and show me how they got off 2 months later. They got processed and they got sent home. Show me that. I can show you a nice young African American lady who shot into the air as warning shots and they fucking sent her ass to jail. I can show you that.
Wow.
I can show you that. I don't want to fucking hear it, man. I don't give a fuck. And if you want to leave the channel, man, fucking go. I don't care. I don't care about anybody's feelings on this fucking situation. You have no idea. Mm. You have no idea, man. And look, it's not all white people. Obviously, I'm married to a white person. My kid is half white, so it's not that. It's a specific type of culture that that we're in. Look at this. Florida woman whose stand your ground defense was rejected is finally released. Marissa Alexander no longer wears an ankle monitor. She's now free to go to the park and play basketball with her children. So in Florida, they got the stand your ground stuff, which was Zimmerman's defense, even though he initiated the contact. Zimmerman initiated the contact, but he was able to appeal to the stand your ground defense.
She spent almost half a dozen years either locked in prison or confined to her house after she was convicted.
For aggravated assault for firing a warning shot at her husband. A warning shot. Who she said abused her, according to her county court documents. He had threatened her 9 days after she gave birth to their daughter.
Come on.
Warning shot. Didn't even hit him. This is a woman to a man. Weighs less physical strength versus George Zimmerman, who actually had height and weight on Trayvon. He gets away with the stand your ground. Killed him. He got away with the stand your ground defense. So much so that, again, he got processed in prison and then released the same night. The only reason he got indicted was because of the protest. This woman fires a warning shot. Nobody's KIA, and she's doing 12 years in prison or house arrest. And everybody, due to this COVID situation, now understands how fucking horrible house arrest is. Yeah. All right. So we need people like Farrakhan. You need somebody who can sit there and be angry, say a bunch of angry shit, and then tell us not to kill anybody. See? You need him.
Jeez.
It's important. It's important that America has Farrakhan. Very important. It's going to be a sad day when that brother dies, believe you me. And it won't be sad mostly for me. I was telling a guy, like, you've got I think it's 27 grievances in America had, and then grievance 15. You know what grievance 15 was? Let me show you what grievance 15. Now remember, these are the grievances in the Declaration of Independence that precipitated the Revolutionary fucking War. YouTube's gonna demonetize this anyway, and if you're still watching, you're still watching. Here's grievance 15. You'll find it very interesting. Here's grievance number 15. It says, for protecting them, they're talking about British soldiers, by a mock trial from punishment from any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states. In other words, one of the reasons that the colonists went to war against the British was because the British would kill somebody. One of their officers would kill somebody.
I think they gave a little story.
And then they would have a little mock trial, and the murderers would get off with little to no punishment. And the forefathers of America said, fuck that. And they took on the greatest empire on the planet. Okay? 1768, 2 citizens of Annapolis, Maryland were murdered by some Marines belonging to a British armed ship. The trial was a mockery of justice, and in the face of clear evidence against them, the criminals were acquitted. In the difficulties with the regulators in North Carolina in 1771, some of the soldiers who had shot down citizens were standing up in defense of their rights, were tried for murder and acquitted, while Governor Tyrone hung 6 prisoners of war who were entitled to the benefits of the laws of war as his soldiers were. So you got 2 or 3 little examples. I got dozens and dozens and dozens of them from my childhood. Sean Bell, Amadou Diallo, we continue. Eric Garner, shit, maybe me. One of these days you might have Sori come up on here and do one of those RIP things for your boy.
Don't say that.
What do you mean?
I think about it enough, I don't need you to bring it up.
Hey, look, yeah. So, when your forefathers had that shit happen, they said, no, we're going to war over this shit. This is ridiculous stuff. It's ridiculous. He wrote that shit in 1964? It's fucking 2020. And the song is still relevant. And look, again, it was a white dude, I'm sure, that got us the song. So the other side of this whole situation, though, I gotta say, and I mean this sincerely for the 4 people that are still watching. I didn't post anything about it in my socials, any of my socials, but I have seen a lot of white folks posting that stuff and expressing their rage about it. And for that, I sincerely appreciate it. I really do. You know, when I deal with abortion, I do it because I want to be a voice for the voiceless. And one of the reasons I'm so big on being a voice for the voiceless, even though it's unpopular with the topic of abortion, is because I know what it's like to be in a country that dehumanizes you. And I know what it's like to watch as people who have the power to speak up refuse to speak up on your behalf because they don't want to ruffle any feathers. So thank you very much, honestly, to the white folks who take up the cause and who bring attention to it and have posted videos and dealt with the whole "you're virtue signaling" or "you're a social" or whatever other bullshit people have said. I sincerely thank you, because if it wasn't for y'all, life would suck a lot more than it does in this context. You know, and that's something that you just have to understand as a black person in America. Like, yeah, you got a lot of slave-owning horrible people, but you also have the John Browns of the world, the white guys who are like, nope, I'm gonna set this fucking plantation on fire. You're gonna free these people. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and obviously Lincoln was racist as hell. We know that, but you know, he followed through on the right thing to do. So you're gonna have people on the that run the gamut, from the John Browns who do the things that you don't have to do it, and the Abraham Lincolns who, you know, do the right thing because circumstances require it. So I'd like to put out a very sincere thank you to the folks who use their power and influence for good. But I don't talk about this stuff, and now you can see why. I'm not a very friendly individual in these situations, and I'm completely ruthless. I mean, on this particular topic, I don't give a fuck how you feel. I don't care. But at the same time, you know, it cannot be discounted that there are white folks who put themselves on the line. It's not easy. Believe it. Every time I say something about abortion, there's always 100% of the time the fallout. So I can imagine being a white person who posts this stuff. There's gonna be fallout for it, and you know it, but you do it anyway. And I can't thank you enough for it. Like Bob Dylan, perfect example. Like he said this shit in the '60s. Like, yeah, that's some shit that modern people wouldn't say. Right. Modern people wouldn't write a song about this. How many Trayvon Martin songs have you heard from white folk, famous white folk? Like this guy is. I got a hell of a lot of respect. I'm not gonna rate the song for obvious reasons. Sometimes we don't rate the song; we call it a silent count because rating it almost destroys the sanctity of the moment. But
I will say musically, I liked the sound of it. It kind of had that calming sort of. It was such a tragic topic that he was talking about, but it had a calming sort of sound to it. And I liked the harmonica when he was doing the harmonica in there and stuff like that. So I agree with you. Shout out to him for doing this, especially at that time.
Yeah.
And yeah, silent count.
And if you're an angry person of color, eye for an eye leaves us all blind. And you know, responding to violence with violence is not going to help anything. And believe me, this is coming from a guy who is mad as hell. And I have a lot to lose in all these situations. But my experience, and this is a complete faith thing, is that the way of Jesus is the only way we're going to solve all these problems. And responding the way we want to, with the anger and the aggression and all that, is not gonna get us anywhere. So if you're black and you're angry, and you're saying one more time, you and I both know there's gonna be another time. You gotta resist that urge, and you gotta look around you and look at your allies and be like, you know what? The whole damn world is not against us. And I think for the most part, you know, I don't agree with everything Martin said, but he did, you know, he talked about the arc of justice, you know, and I definitely believe that. So there you go. Do some push-ups or something. whatever it is that you use to relieve stress, relatively speaking. But if you're wondering why there was no Middle America video on it, that's why. I don't touch those topics. I'm not gonna touch them. It was clear to me that the person who bought the song review wanted the topic discussed because he said recent events. So I respect that. But if you're looking for a Middle America video on it, you're not gonna find one. And the next one that happens, you're not gonna find one. I don't deal with them, and I don't spend a lot of time on them. So there you go. Love your neighbor.
Take care of each other.
Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.
In the courtroom of honor, the judge pounded his gavel to show that all's equal and that the courts are on the level and that the strings in the books ain't pulled and persuaded and that even the nobles get properly handled. And once that the cops have chased after and caught 'em and that the ladder of law has no top and no bottom, stared at the person who killed for no reason, who just happened to be feeling that way without warning. And he spoke through his cloak, most deep and distinguished, and he handed out strongly for penalty and repentance Williams and Singer with a 6-month sentence. And you who philosophize disgrace and criticize all fears, bury the red most deep in your face. Now's the time for your tears. Poor Hattie Carroll with a cane that he twirled around his diamond ring finger at a Baltimore hotel society gathering. And the cops were called in and his weapon took from him as they rode him in custody down to the station and booked Williams and Singer for first-degree murder. And you who philosophize disgrace